about to meet have an unusual and somewhat embarrassing problem. They can't turn off their sexual sensations no matter what they do. John Quinones asks them the awkward questions, and we warn you, their answers are not just honest, they are sometimes graphic. The four women you're about to meet have an unusual and somewhat embarrassing problem. They can't turn off their sexual sensations no matter what they do. John Quinones asks them the awkward questions, and we warn you, their answers are not just honest, they are sometimes graphic.
Imagine this, a woman constantly on the edge of orgasm, just like this scene on Grey's Anatomy. If you think it's fun, think again. I had lunch recently with four very brave women.
Thank you for making the trip out here.
All of these women suffer from a mysterious condition they wish they didn't have. It's called Persistent Sexual Arousal Syndrome, or PSAS, identified and named just 6 years ago.
It's unwanted sexual sensations.
And sex doesn't help it.
It doesn't.
Orgasm doesn't relieve it. Sometimes it makes it stronger.
And they find these sensations a nightmare.
Irritating, torture.
So you spend a lot of time avoiding situations that will set you off.
PSAS can be triggered by something as ordinary as vibrations from a plane or a car. Heather Dearman, Nancy Austin, and two women who wanted to be disguised, we'll call them Lauren and Emily, all suffer from sexual arousal without any desire at all. Dr. Irwin Goldstein, a professor at UC San Diego and head of sexual medicine at Alvarado Hospital, is one of the few researchers studying PSAS.
Is spontaneous, intrusive, and unwanted genital arousal consisting of throbbing, pulsing, or tingling without the person's sexual interest or desire.
But most doctors have never heard of PSAS.
What is the worst thing a doctor has told you guys?
Get a hobby. I'm supposed to take up knitting or something.
And I also had one doctor suggest that I become a lesbian.
Oh, no.
Every lecture I give on this, there's always smirks in the audience. Oh, I wish my wife was like this. These are professional physicians. And I said, no, you don't really want this. You do not want your wife to have this, please.
I'm a sophisticated sex robot sent back through time to change the future.
Teenage boys with raging hormones, as shown here in the movie American Pie. That's the image that comes to mind when we think of constant sexual arousal. But this arousal is sexual in nature. PSAS is definitely not. So what causes this strange ailment? No one really knows.
Is it coming from the brain? Is it coming from the body? Is it a nerve?
While there's no exact counterpart in men, there is a condition called priapism, unwanted and prolonged engorgement lasting for more than 4 hours. It's a medical emergency whose complications can include blood clots and gangrene. PSAS is different from priapism in both cause and effect, but its impact on women can be equally devastating.
Their genitals are aroused 24/7, 365, and they can't concentrate, they can't work. Anything that moves or vibrates will lead them into orgasmic release.
Heather Dearman and her husband Jeremy have been dealing with PSAS since it began during her pregnancy 12 years ago. After she gave birth, the sensations got even worse, and she found only one way to stop them.
I was masturbating in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. I would be crying while I was masturbating because, nobody wants to do that all day long.
These women are not nymphomaniacs. They hate the constant sexual arousal. Dr. Goldstein thinks the cause may be a brain reflex gone awry.
You could visualize at some level that this is a form of recurrent seizure activity. It's an area of the brain that activates without the person's permission.
Brain scans have turned up nothing conclusive yet, but research is continuing. Without knowing the cause, treatment can be difficult, and PSAS is variable. Heather links hers to pregnancy, but Lauren's began much earlier.
I can remember episodes when I was 3.
And while all parents know it's normal for their children to squirm and wriggle, Emily believes the habit she developed as a toddler, constantly moving her legs to stop an itch, was more than perpetual childish motion.
I always knew it wasn't normal, but I knew nothing else.
Nancy's PSAS began after menopause. To stop it, her doctor tried several nerve blocks to her genital area,
which are extremely painful, and they didn't even work.
It's not a yearning for sex.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
But what about home remedies?
We have a woman who ices a condom and puts the condom in the genitalia to basically survive the day.
I've tried ice. It's too cold.
Yeah. I tried ice, I tried creams.
What do you try?
Sometimes vibrators, but everything's temporary because it comes right back again.
Can you sleep?
No, I don't sleep for days sometimes, maybe an hour in the morning.
What do you want more than anything? I'm sorry.
I just want to be normal.
It's not something we've chosen.
Millions of viewers tonight will be saying that's weird.
Oh,
what would you tell them?
Yeah, it is weird.
A few patients have even resorted to electroshock therapy with uneven results. But Dr. Goldstein thinks it is helping reset the brain in at least one of his patients.
The electroconvulsive therapy causes her to re-regulate her sexual reflex, and she no longer has PSAS.
You would try it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have considered surgery just to cut everything off down there. I would rather never have another orgasm in my life for the rest of my life.
Really?
Than to have this problem.
Heather kept trying to tame what she called her beast.
There was one time for me where it was really unbelievably bad, and we were on a really long trip with family, and I actually went into a public restroom and, you know, masturbated to make it go away. It was absolutely humiliating and degrading in every way.
She decided there was only one way out: to take her own life.
I knew I was going to commit suicide. I mean, it was that bad.
Heather was so frightened, she committed herself to a psychiatric hospital.
The nurse came in and she said, "Honey, I wish I could stay home and masturbate all day long. I'm like in the psychiatric ward because I'm going to take my life, and here you are belittling me, you know."
And then one day, Jeremy discovered an article that described his wife's symptoms exactly.
She immediately started crying and like, oh my God, you know, I'm not alone.
Heather now takes an antidepressant, not for depression, but to reset her sexual reflex. And while it does not work for everyone with PSAS, the drug has reduced her symptoms to a more manageable level. But because sex triggers even stronger symptoms, sometimes Heather avoids it altogether.
It's not like he couldn't satisfy me sexually. It has nothing to do with him, and there was just something going on in my body that I had no control over.
We can only be affectionate at certain times, so there's not like the casual kissing for us, so yeah, I need to take that easy.
Sometimes I'll have to stop him from kissing me.
And despite PSAS, Heather and Jeremy remain committed.
You know, I believe we're honestly happily married. It's what we still choose, you know, we love one another.
So, if you're tempted to joke,
Spontaneous orgasms, that would solve so many problems.
like these doctors on Grey's Anatomy, remember, PSAS is real, and it causes real suffering.
You wouldn't wish this on anyone?
Not my worst enemy.
And we'll be